Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the rumpled one. It's a dreary Friday morning here. September the 7th. The year's 2012. Well, the Democrats have nominated Obama for president. That's no surprise. But what is surprising is a couple of conversations I had with some people yesterday. It's kind of disheartening because, like I said, when I talk to people that have Obama stickers or wearing a shirt, I don't really try to debate with them. I don't try and sway their minds. I just want to find out why they like him, why they're for him. Maybe I might learn something new. Hot chocolate this morning. It's kind of cold out here. Anyway, this one person, they like Obama. And I asked them, why? And they go, well, don't take this the wrong way, but because he's black. They're not black. They're white. But they like Obama because he's black. Well, number one, Obama's mixed. His mom was white, his father was black, so he's mixed, but that's besides the point. But that was one of the reasons. They thought it was a good thing, that it meant progress, that this country can have a non-white president. Okay, so then I asked them, what else? They said, well, they don't really get into politics, but some of the people that they respect like Obama, so that was good enough for them. I'm like, what? Now this is a person who's a business owner. So obviously he's got something on the ball. They also like to go shooting. But because somebody who they respect, that they think highly of, likes Obama, that's good enough for them. Well, once again, I didn't try to change their minds, but there's a saying by Confucius. If a fool speaks the truth, it's still the truth. And if a wise man speaks foolishness, it's still foolishness. Now, I'm sure you can connect the dots. Once again, you see, here's somebody busy with their business, busy raising their family, making ends meet, doing their chores and errands. But they don't take on their civil responsibility as an American citizen to educate themselves about politics and to find out facts for themselves. So they're going to vote for Obama because somebody who they respect likes Obama. I mean, really, could you change this person's mind even if you tried? I mean, if that's their reasoning, they can't be reached. Now, you can point out all the things that Obama has done to basically mess up the country, all the lies he's told, campaign promises broken. I believe he said that if he couldn't fix the economy in 4 years, he wasn't going to run again. Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's all on tape somewhere. But besides the point, he can't run on his record. I mean, on Facebook, they're just making fun of him. At least comes across on my Facebook pages. But I guess somebody coined the term Obamaholic. I guess there's a 12-step program to get these people back on the right track. But relying on somebody else, their opinion on who you should vote for, that's a tough one, my fellow Americans. Now, I had another conversation. I can't decide if I should include it in this video because it could get into the boring zone or make a separate one. I'll go ahead and include it. I was talking to this other individual about Obama. And they're for Obama because he's for women's rights. And, you know, they're very concerned because, you know, they don't want anybody telling them what, you know, to do with their body. You know, basically abortion and contraception. You know, that it's a good thing that insurance companies are forced to pay for contraception. But, I mean, who really pays for it? Think about that for a second or two. Number one, we're all being forced to have insurance through coercion because in Obamacare, they can come in and basically seize your bank account. Did you know that? It's there. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. But they really think that it's a good thing. But I pointed out to them that, you know, if you're going down a road and there's a fork, and to get to where you need to go to the left, but you get messed up and you turn to the right. But from the right, there's no roads that lead back to that road. Well, no matter what you do, you're going down the wrong road. And that's basically what's going on here, is that we're on the wrong road, and no matter what we do, it's going to be wrong. We need to pull it back. We need to step back. Once again, my fellow Americans, chances are, if you're under the age of 100, you've never been free. You've been a slave your entire life. If you don't get to keep everything you earn, you are a slave. They take it from you through coercion. You don't see the gun, but it's there. Try not paying your taxes. It's there. Back to the point, women's rights. You know, why should a woman have to fight to equal pay for equal work? Well, true. I'm not against that, equal pay for equal work. But, you know, when we talk about insurance and contraceptives, why should insurance companies have to pay for it? That's not the question. It's like, why should we have to have insurance in the first place? It should be voluntary. And we should be able to pick and choose what levels of coverage we want, including no coverage at all. I don't think the insurance industry should be forced. But I don't think the insurance industry as it stands is on the right path anyway. There's just too many loopholes, too many pre-existing conditions, just too many's. And it should be opened up. In fact, I think the smart thing to do would be for communities, small communities, to basically be self-insured, where people can, once again, willingly put into the pot. You know, everybody maybe pays $100 a year or $1,000 a year. I mean, a small community like this, I think we have around 60,000 and change people here in this county. Well, let's see. If you have 60,000 people and everybody paid $1,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken, that's $60 million a year. How many doctors could be hired and nurses for $60 million a year? That's something to think about. You wouldn't need insurance companies. I mean, just how much medical care needs to be provided, I don't know. Something to think about. But it's just an idea I had long ago. In some of these small towns, I mean, maybe instead of the county, you come to a small town, you know, a town of 3,000 people. Okay, $3 million they could collect in a year. How many doctors does 3,000 people need? You tell me. What do you think? I mean, you could have 10 people sick a day could go to the doctor. Why not? So then you could say, well, maybe some people can't afford $1,000 a year. What about them? What about them? I mean, the community would then decide, do we help them or do we say, you know what? You got to do something to contribute. We just can't carry you. Like those deer in the front yard, you know, don't feed them because otherwise they can't fend for themselves. Well, it's like with people, don't feed them. And they'll fend for themselves. Okay, I'm getting off topic. Women's rights. Contraception. No, I don't think insurance companies should have to pay for it. Because that means everybody's paying for a select few. That doesn't seem right to me. I mean, if a woman wants contraception, shouldn't she have to go pay for it? It's just like I know, for some weird reason, I guess guys can get, you know, Viagra or Cialis or whatever those things are. That's just crazy. I think it's on Medicare or Medicaid or something. It just doesn't make sense. But that's our government. See? Once again, you're not free. They take money and then they start doing things with it. And then they have you fighting over what should be done with your money in the first place. See, when you look at, step back and you look at the big picture, you can just see how crazy all this stuff is. You know, rights, once again, you're born free, in essence. Then you learn about society and government and laws and rules. And you either go with the program or you can fight the power. You can fight the power in court or you can fight the power with guns. My one friend was saying, oh, no, why does it always have to be with violence? We're above that. I go, well, that's your belief system. Remember, I've done a couple small short videos about how your mind works. Now, that's your perspective. That's your belief system. Other people don't hold your belief system. So sometimes you have to meet, you know, power with power. You have to fight back to protect what's yours. And that's what we're talking about here. You know, personally, I don't have anything against women's rights. Not at all. But, you know, when you start talking about insurance companies, and they have to provide this, that, and the other, by law, by federal regulation, I think we're down the wrong path here. It's that nanny state. Mommy and daddy know what's best. But you see, that's part of the problem. You have to understand we're in a republic, constitutional republic, not a democracy. And if you read some history, don't take my word for it. See, the whole idea is of Republicans, is that in a republic, you have the elite. And they know better than the commoners. So the elite run the show. And that's what we have here. We have a bunch of people who think they're elite running the show, but they're running it into the ground. I mean, we haven't had a budget in how many years? Since the Democrats took over? What kind of leadership is Obama showing that we can't get a budget? He wants to blame it on the Republicans. You see, he's not taking responsibility. What's that got to do with women's rights? Everything. I mean, they talk, it's so funny, you know, they're talking about women's rights, but look at what the Democrats have been doing to women through the years. Teddy Kennedy, murder. Oh. Bill Clinton, it depends on what is, and no, I didn't have sex with that woman. it's just, I mean, it's just lunacy. But that's what, you know, some people, they get so caught up over this one single issue, women's rights, they forget about the big picture, just your rights in general. You know, with Obama and via executive order, we're basically under martial law. He can take over the internet and all the communications, you know, cell phones. If he declares a state of emergency, think about it. You know, those are the issues that really come to mind, really should be in the forefront, is that liberty. Because once again, you don't get to keep everything that you earn. You are a slave. You got to get that through your mind. Now you could say, hey, you know, well, if you don't like it, leave. No. America, if you're an American, you almost have a duty to do what it takes to make this country better. Of course, once again, everybody has a different perspective. But I think when it comes to freedom, most of us probably agree. Then again, there are those people who probably don't read or have never read the Constitution and Declaration of Independence, and they wind up on Jay Leno when Jay reads a clause or an amendment to somebody, you know, man on the street, and they go, oh no, that's not a good idea. And people want to, you know, talk about the Second Amendment. And, you know, well, back then they only had muskets. They didn't have automatic weapons. And I counter, do you think back then, if they had M16 automatic weapons, that there's in any way, shape, or form that they would say the government could have these, but the citizens couldn't? There is no way that they would allow the government to have M16s and the people not. There's no way. You can't convince me otherwise. Not when these people had high-tech weapons in their front yard called cannons. That was the high-tech weapon at the time. But back then, you see, the people that were fighting were the citizens. Just about every able-bodied man was part of the militia. But since now we have a separate standing army, they want to take away those rights and say, no, you don't need it as a citizen. You shouldn't have a handgun. You don't need that. Or you shouldn't have, you know, a high-powered rifle. You don't need that. It's like, sure you do. You need it to protect yourself against tyranny, against overbearing police or army or UN forces if they happen to be on this soil. I mean, really, we'd probably still be outgunned, but then again, we could maybe possibly outsmart them. We know the land a little bit better. Even though they have the spy satellites and the drones and the infrared detection, still be an interesting fight. Because all you have to do is take at least, if you take down 2 of them before they take down you, then the people are ahead of the game. But back to women's rights. It's not for anybody to say, really. It's the woman's body. She should be able to choose for herself what to do. It's her body. She's got to live with her decisions. But to force somebody else to pay for it? No. That's coercion. That's imposing your will on somebody else. No, we have to start drawing that line. Now, we might not agree with it, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means we don't agree with it. You know, when you think about numbers, it is kind of a weird feeling when you think about how many abortions are performed. It's just, I don't know. It's, you know, when you're talking millions, if you know, just that picture in your mind, that's just, in my mind, I just don't like it. I'm not saying that a woman shouldn't be able to have one, but I don't know. It's just something about it just doesn't sit well. But I would never deny a woman her right to choose. I might not agree with it. I mean, we don't want to go back to the back alley coat hanger abortions. But see, maybe if people took a little more responsibility beforehand, they wouldn't be in that situation in the first place. Now, it's got nothing to do with the Bible or religion or any of that stuff. That's not where I'm coming from at all. It just has to do with choice, personal responsibility, self-respect. And not putting yourself in situations that you can't get yourself out of easily. That's something my father taught me when I was young. Don't put yourself in a situation you can't get out of. Like when you're driving down the highway, don't get boxed in. Always have an escape route. It's smart things like that. Yeah, so this video is probably in the boring zone now. But my fellow Americans, when you vote, you have to realize you really don't have too much of a choice. But I think this time it's a clear cut. You can vote for somebody who believes in socialism, Obama, or you can vote for somebody else. You can vote for Romney, and I'm sure there's a few other people on the ticket, but I think it's more important just to get Obama out of office than it is. It doesn't matter whether or not you like Romney. I'm no Romney fan, but I still think, you know, as an American, he pretty much is a success, living the dream, family man, businessman. You know, you can talk about, oh, he's got money offshore. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if I had millions, I'd have some offshore too. Darn tootin'. But then again, I mean, how many millions did he give away in charity? Obama can't make that claim. So, my fellow Americans, once again, it's time to wake up and smell the tyranny.